The SEC is taking a beating as they will not play for a national championship for the second straight year. What's wrong with the SEC, the squad, getting together?
You're talking ball with the SEC squad, sponsored by Game Time. From Alabama to Tennessee, from Georgia to Oklahoma, from Auburn to Texas, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming SEC weekend. It's the SEC squad, and we have a seat for you. Hurt feelings and thin skin are prohibited. Squad up, you're part of the SEC squad.
That's right. Welcome into the SEC squad. Sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we get ready for another week talking all things SEC. By the way, today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com today to get started. Let's welcome in our panel. We got a fully loaded squad show today. We got Brandon Olson from Locked On Gators. We got Stephen Willis, Locked On Ole Miss. We got John Miller, Locked On Mizzou. Luke Robinson, Locked On Bama. Chris Marler from Locked On South Carolina, or Gamecocks rather. John Williams from Locked On Sooners, covered Oklahoma. And Corey Burton, host of Locked On Vandy. John Neighbors, always living in the emo world, host of Locked On.
I'm hurting for my man. I don't know what's going on in his world, but I'm hurting for John over there.
Yeah. I'm Chris Gordy, host of Locked On SEC. And, guys, we've got a lot to get into. I'm glad we got a full house because I felt like, what's his name, Jon Snow the last week or so, out there in the field with the sword, fighting for the glory of the Southeastern Conference. Guys, help us out here. Is the SEC dead? Big Ten fans are just claiming dominance over the conference. They are about to, Ohio State with a chance to win back-to-back national championships in football. Is the SEC little brother now? Brandon Olson?
Hell no. Just simply put, hell no. Like, I think for me, one of the biggest things is that every other conference has to go, oh, well, it's not the SEC. They make it SEC versus the field, and I feel like that alone just answers it for me that, they're still kings. If you have to constantly go, it's anyone but the SEC, you lose right there. That's at least how I look at it.
Yeah,
you have a situation where I think what has happened is Alabama has taken a step back. Georgia played a playoff game with a backup quarterback. And all of a sudden, everybody gets the confirmation bias because they want it so badly for an SEC team to lose and all of this over and over again. The SEC's not down. They were down a little bit this year, but that was because Bama was down and Georgia was injured and things like that. But what you're actually seeing in this age of the 12-team playoff, you get more teams that get to recruit to the playoff, which means it's going to spread people out. The transfer portal is going to suck away depth. And all of a sudden, these elite teams, these Alabama from 2014 and 2015, that era, those Georgia teams that were early on, those are gone. Those eras have ended. But what's going to happen is the new version of the SEC is going to rise up because it's still the conference with the most NFL players, and the better players are the better teams.
John Miller, what say you?
To me, 2 years isn't much of a trend or a pattern, I have to say it. And just when you look at it, I just think the overall spectrum, I just think the SEC has a lot more options in future years to be potential champions. The Big Ten, obviously Ohio State's looking great. Penn State kind of came through this year, but Michigan not exactly following up that national championship with another contending type of run. So to me, in the post-Jim Harbaugh era, you're wondering there. Wisconsin has a bunch of questions. I just think the SEC has a lot more potential options to win the whole thing in the future.
Yeah, by the way, after Bama won it in 2012, we did go 13-14. Florida State won it, Ohio State won it, and then the SEC went Bama, Clemson, LSU, Bama, Georgia. So, again, a two-year span of not winning it has happened before during this dominant run. Luke, what say you?
Yeah, I think Steven's onto something. Alabama did take a little step back. You lost the greatest coach of all time. They're going to take a step back. They're still going to be fine. All you got to do is look at the recruiting rankings. I'm looking at them from on 3 right now. Texas 1, Bama 2, Georgia 3, Oregon, Ohio State 4 or 5. Kudos. 6, Auburn, 7, LSU, 8, Texas A&M, 9, Michigan, 10, Tennessee, 11, Florida. I mean, I rattled off 3 Big Teners, and a bunch of SECers. And the SEC is going to be back. It's going to be fine. And the other thing that's ticking me off about all this is they say the SEC's dead and, y'all don't even play the 9-game conference schedule. Why don't we just pull up Penn State's schedule, for instance, for 2025? Let's see who they've got welcoming in to Beaver Stadium. Oh, Nevada and FIU and Villanova. So they're playing 3 airports, and then they play their regular Big Ten schedule. They got Oregon, thank God. They didn't have them last year, and they've got Ohio State, but they don't have Michigan next year. And you go back to Ohio State. Guess what? They miss Oregon next year. And I know I do respect they're putting Texas on the schedule for game 1. But my point is, look, when teams like Alabama are playing Wisconsin and Florida State and 8 SEC games, that's plenty. And I think the SEC is going to be just fine. The recruiting's picking up at places like Auburn and Florida seems to have their act together again. Tennessee's recruiting a lot better. I just feel like the SEC is not going anywhere. We took a little break. We needed a breather.
Too much winning was happening. You're right. We needed a little break from that. Chris Marler, have a take.
I'm glad that somebody brought up the Big Ten finally getting in, because I know with the Sidney Thomas thing, I knew the top heavy was going to get brought up at some point. But when you have a 3-team league out of a 14-team conference for roughly 3 decades, and you have to add 4 more teams just so you have a 4th good team, you have 18 total teams in the Big Ten. Thank God they were good enough to get 4 teams in the playoff. I mean, what are we talking about here? I think the thing for me, I don't know if I'm most offended by the egregious takes of, well, they didn't have anybody play for the national championship for the gasp 3rd time in 19 years. I don't know if that pisses me off more, or the horrible, horrible jokes. The one joke that they've gone to the well to over and over and over again with Nicole Auerbach, Tom Fornelli. I expect it from DK because he's been a one-pitch guy for roughly a decade now. But my God, it is. I just show us on the doll where the SEC hurts you. Like what happened to you guys?
It is the conference version of daddy issues, the biggest I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I thought you said Diddy issues. That's way worse. Yeah, that's a good point.
John Williams, save us from this.
Well, I just want to welcome everybody to the full Texas experience. Like anybody that was hoping that Texas would be the answer to the SEC, welcome. This is what the Big 12 has been dealing with for 2 to 3 decades, basically. Anytime you expect Texas to rise up and be Texas is back, they fully disappoint. But you look at the SEC teams that made the playoff. Tennessee, with a first-year starter in Nico Iamaleava. They were a good team. It's just the lights were too bright, and that Ohio State team was really, really good.
Really good.
Texas, Quinn Ewers, he's just too immobile to make a difference for that team. And Steve Sarkisian had PTSD from when Oklahoma stopped him at the goal line in the 2023 Red River Showdown and did not know what to do at 1st and goal at the 2. And then you look at Georgia, as Steven mentioned, a backup quarterback, a not as good Georgia team as what we've experienced. So is the SEC down this year? Yeah. Is it going to be fine? Of course it is, because it's still one of the most competitive leagues in all of sports, not just in college football.
Yeah. Corey, what's your take on all the SEC doom and gloom?
Where's the doom and gloom? Like we're still Big Brother, because everyone's like, oh, SEC this, SEC that. Like there's no SEC teams in the national title game, and yet we're still the topic of discussion. We'll never be. We aren't, and we never will be little brother. I mean, look at the gauntlet of the schedule that every single one of our teams had to go through.
Not Texas, but yeah.
But not Texas. But for the most part, all of us went through a gauntlet of a conference schedule. The Big Ten does not do that week in and week out. They do not have to prepare like that week in and week out. And it's just grueling. And it's not a skill position comparison, because skill positions are dime a dozen, feels like. It's the trenches. We have more NFL linemen in our league than any other league, and we dominate the line of scrimmage for the most part. Just didn't work out in our favor this year, but usually we have more depth.
Corey, I just don't think you're given enough credit to playing a game on a cold Saturday afternoon in a lacrosse stadium outside of Lake Michigan.
You go up and go play. Yeah, go up and play Purdue in front of 12 people at 11 a.m.
Or Northwestern at their makeshift stadium.
That's unbelievable.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, that's what he was referencing.
And Rutgers, which
You know
is
how bad it is when the Vandy guys talking about your stadium? Yeah. You know how bad it is when the Vandy guy is like, yeah, you're playing in front of
Vandy's scoreboard is hanging from a crane with two eyeballs, and he's swinging in the wind.
Yeah.
And they're still making fun of your stadium. That's great.
Metaphor.
But it's not a lacrosse stadium.
I miss those days, but our stadium's going to be nice. Vandy Stadium's going to be nice, but I miss those days.
Let me defend Texas real quick because they did make it to the Final Four for the second straight year, so they do deserve a hat tip for that. We've had a lot of people in comments. Why do y'all hate on Texas? Look, we like Texas. You're just new, and everybody's got to come around on you. John Neighbors, I'm sorry, it was luck of the draw. This is how it came around. You're last, but John, give us your thoughts on all the SEC counter talk.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm used to being last. I'm a Razorback. I'll be honest. I'll bite at it. I think that the SEC is not dead, but there's not going to be a single coach that's at the respective schools right now that's going to win a national title that's not named Kirby Smart or Steve Sarkisian. Those are the only coaches in the SEC that are going to win a national title with their respective schools. I think that if there's a move made, maybe a different coach can come in to an Alabama or to an LSU or to some other school that maybe be a possibility. But I don't think it's going to be any of these coaches. And I think that's until that changes, I think you'll start to see the SEC, not saying they'll not have a national championship, but I could totally see it being a Georgia here and then a couple of years, and then maybe a Texas here and then a couple of years until the changing of the guard at some of these big schools. Because I don't like any of the coaches at the big schools besides Kirby Smart and Steve Sarkisian to win a natty.
But it will not be Texas 8-4.
I don't mean to be if Colt hadn't gotten hurt guy, but if Carson Beck hadn't gotten hurt, is there anybody that thinks that Notre Dame still would have beaten Georgia?
It was a crappy game plan regardless.
It was a crappy game plan. And also,
they dominated the line of scrimmage. They played.
But it's wild that no one in the national media decided to bring up the Carson Beck thing at all.
If Ohio State lost Will Howard, they would have stunk. I mean, that's not stunk, but they wouldn't have gone very far in these playoffs. And the other
look at the Cotton Bowl last year. That's the same thing.
Ohio State lost
Yeah, no, it's a great argument. And look, I had somebody tell me that too, because I argued the same thing. I said, how much of a difference would Carson Beck have made? When they got down to the goal line and went scoreless, when 4th and goal and didn't get in, you could see Gunnar Stockton did not have control of that huddle. Like Carson Beck would have at least been the savvy vet, would have had control. All right, guys, here's what we're doing. Here's the play. Let's go. Gunnar Stockton was a little slow to get going. And again, he looks super talented. It's going to be interesting to see what Kirby does with him moving forward. But but when we say this, it sounds like we're just being excuse guys here and so on and so forth. Does anybody want to take John to task on that argument on
hey, I thought I'd start something with that.
Coach in the SEC who could win a title?
I like Kalen DeBoer. I mean, I think he's a good coach, and I think he's going to get that thing going. It's just a one-year dip, I think, for Alabama. And the dude has just had a lot of success everywhere he's been. So give me Kalen DeBoer to be the guy that kind of breaks John's take here.
I'll take back what I said about Texas.
Just because Arkansas is 0-3 in basketball in the SEC, don't take it out on the rest of us.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. If there is a school that knows what great teams look like, it's Arkansas, because they play them all the time. So trust me, we're experts in it. But
I love that you have the brightest lights on your actual like studio, but you have just the dimmest spirit every week that you join us.
And he has Hogs by 90 behind him.
No, that's now become a running joke almost now, kind of like this live stream that we do. But I will say,
this is live.
It's not live.
It's a great thing though in the SEC when you can see, and because I've always been a guy that starts the chant. I love the SEC and I've always done it that way. But again, it's just Lane Kiffin ain't winning one at Ole Miss. Billy Napier's not winning one in Florida. None of this is happening. It's going to be Kirby Smart, because I agree with the Carson Beck take 100%. Kirby Smart, national championship winning coach. I didn't think Steve Sarkisian could do it. But besides those two guys, there's not any other school with their respective coaches now that's going to win a national title. It's just not going to happen.
How mad is Brandon going to be, though, if Billy wins one?
Hold that thought. We will rehash this coming up more right after this on the Squad Show. More at the squad in just a second, but I want to remind you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs, they're just better with FanDuel, because right now, new customers, you bet $5 and you get $200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed. That is $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app going to give you everything you need to make live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more up there on their website. Go visit the website and share betting lines around your team or league. And of course, right now they've got the college finale, the championship game up there for you right now at FanDuel, still sitting as an Ohio State about an 8.5-point favorite over Notre Dame. So if you want to get on that, if you want to get in on the NFL playoff games happening this weekend, we got a lot of rematches. We got Texans versus Chiefs again. Texans, a heavy underdog. Can they pull it off? All that you can find at FanDuel.com. Visit FanDuel.com to go get signed up and join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, continue on here on the Squad Show. And we were kicking around the idea that John kind of floated out there, saying that of the current SEC coaches, and by the way, guys, this is history. We are going to return every SEC coach again. As of now, I mean, I haven't heard anybody going to be fired, but we're going to return every SEC coach from last year to this year, all 16. It's never been done before. 16 SEC coaches all return next year in their current spots. But give me a thought. Okay, if there is one of these other SEC coaches going to win a national championship next year, not named Kirby Smart or not named, who would you say, Sark, who would it be?
Next year specifically?
Next year.
Ooh. That's a tough one. I mean, I just think, I thought John was saying in the future in general, like any of the coaches at their current spots, as long as they were there. But regardless, I think if you parlayed all of those together at FanDuel, John's probably onto something in terms of the odds. But again, I think when you have, I think programs like Tennessee, programs like, selfishly, Missouri. I think that they're South Carolina, quite honestly. I mean, they weren't that far off from the playoff this year. I don't think it's impossible to see that. Whereas some of these other sort of middle of the pack Big Ten teams, I do think it's more impossible. I will say that.
South Carolina.
Don't speak on our
That's completely impossible. They're like a playoff contender next year. Why do you think that?
I don't care how good of a year they had. I can't possibly get behind the idea that Shane Beamer will ever do anything meaningful. He is the only guy that's 0-2 against Billy Napier. And he's got like a 27-point differential in the two games that they've
Well, not only that,
and Brandon, the good news for everyone else,
38-6 more talented.
The good news for everyone else here is that since we had to listen to you talk about Billy Napier for the first 8 weeks of the season, we don't care about your opinion on coaches.
That's fine. That's great. I'm not in on Billy.
You were the front of the parade about we got to get Billy out of here.
You and John Neighbors have so much in common. I just realized it.
Don't say that.
It's so true.
Beautiful hair.
Brett Bielema can get under Shane Beamer's skin that badly. They ain't winning a national championship with him.
Soft.
Yeah.
Sure.
Emotionally fragile is what that was.
Yeah, that. I mean, I
can't
All right,
defend that.
Lane Kiffin boy. Let's not.
I honestly, I think
If Lane Kiffin wins 10 games a year, he's going to get a statue. It doesn't matter if he wins a national championship.
The main thing about Shane Beamer that I think we should take away from the entire season that he just had when they were projected to go 5.5 wins to start the year, and they started out 3-3. From the entire season, I think the main takeaway should be how he responded in the third quarter of the Cheez-It Bowl. I think we're all on the same page with that. For sure.
Thank you. Of all time is he's basically being held like a child. His feet are like up in the air and he's like pointing, and that was my favorite picture from that.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting, though, guys, is we talk about the quarterbacks. And look, we got two pretty good ones. Riley Leonard, who was a pretty highly thought of quarterback that went to Notre Dame because of NIL. Will Howard, who was highly thought of at Kansas State, goes to Ohio State because of a big NIL deal. The SEC's got some homegrown talent here right now. It starts with DJ Lagway at Florida. We got Lenore Sellers at South Carolina. We got Arch Manning at Texas. The future looks bright with these quarterbacks. And if any of those elite level quarterback talents take that next step this year, any one of those teams, Nico Iamaleava, I mean, this thing could be, if one of those guys becomes elite, could elevate their team.
I would just like to say, last week, by the way, everybody that was here, which I think is just at this point, Gordy and Luke were the only ones that were here. You guys talked, and John, so everybody but Zach. You guys talked a lot about quarterbacks and didn't mention DJ Lagway in that, and that is absolutely despicable. And you should be ashamed of yourselves. All right.
They just did that
He's
about
getting brought up right now. What do you want from me?
I'll go to that. You guys talked about it last week. You guys, all these quarterbacks are turning, and didn't mention DJ Lagway.
Hey, I'm actually kind of offended that Arkansas didn't get much love, but Taylor Green is the second highest returning passing leader in the SEC this past year. So
yeah, Garrett Nussmeier, Taylor Green, obviously, if they both take a next step in their development, can maybe help carry a team. I mean, we've seen
Brown going to LSU is a huge deal too. Like that's a.
Brian Kelly's not winning a title at LSU, though. He cursed himself about, I can't win a title at Notre Dame, and now they're in the national championship game. They're not going to win. But
in his defense, when he said that, it was a 14 playoff still, and NIL wasn't really a thing yet. So we got to remember when he said that.
It's still going to haunt him. I prefer to let it haunt
karma.
him. Thank you.
I feel like you're trying to do the haunting more than anything.
That's me. I'm just hovering over Brian Kelly.
I mean, the thing with Kelly, too, though,
I feel like you're just reading Nicole Auerbach's tweets, Luke. That's all.
Let me tell you something. If there's anybody who's gotten more annoying than her and that cabal of people who, like Marler said, tweet the same thing. They keep saying things like, I can't believe the committee let the Denver Broncos in.
Right.
The 700th time. Let it go, people. I mean, my point is, there are too many teams in the NFL playoffs and too many teams in the college football playoffs. That's what I said when they expanded to 12. And I'm pretty sure I was right.
They need to expand it to 16 and do away with buys. Let's
just go with 32. Let's do what
absolutely.
Let's not do that. The Falcons would still find a way not to make it, so I don't need that.
So it's Arkansas.
They let the Saints in twice.
Marler, are you a Falcons guy?
Yeah, Atlanta.
Love it.
That makes one of us.
Two of us. I'm a Falcons guy too.
No, I'm saying that makes one of us that loves it. So,
I mean, they make it difficult, but
Marler, you were going to make a point on all this.
He wasn't. Marler just says things until his internet cuts out, and then he's like, "All right, I guess I'm done with my job."
He did text us. He has 5% left on his phone.
Yeah, I'm at 2.
He's kneeling the clock out right now.
So real
What
quick,
does that even mean?
everybody give me a team. If it's not Texas and it's not Georgia next year, an SEC team with their current coach wins the national championship next year, who is it? Brandon Olson, start with you.
Vandy. Oh,
I'm gonna be a jackass about it.
No.
I'm gonna be a jackass about it. And here's the thing: I'm gonna say Florida. I'm gonna do it. Not that I think it's gonna. I don't think anybody's gonna do it. That's not those two next year, at least. I will say that I think Florida has built a really good roster. Coaching is the reason that I don't think that they're going to be successful. I think roster-wise, they've built one hell of a roster. So if Billy wants to pull his head out of his you-know-what and win some damn football games.
Hire Buster.
Yeah.
By the way,
he should.
Brandon, I had a national person tell me at the Cotton Bowl the other night, they said, all this hype about Arch, future #1 pick, he said it's DJ Lagway all the way.
It's DJ Lagway, but they'll be in different drafts, so it's fine.
Yeah. Stephen Willis, I assume you'll take the Ole Miss Rebels?
I am going to take the Ole Miss Rebels. They are the #5 betting favorite, according to FanDuel, to win the
What were they this year?
In that case,
they were about that too. Hey, but hey,
I'm just glad we got that one established.
Austin Simmons might be the most surprising quarterback in the SEC next year. He is a star. He is a future #1 level quarterback. And the talent that they have, they're going to be good. If Lane can drop the analytics crap, because the analytics is what I blame for what happened to them this year.
Oh, man, you're that cloud. I get it.
Yeah. Analytics is just old English for bad football. That's all it is. And if he can get away with that, they can win some games and get into the playoff. But they lost 3 games this year because they refused to take points whenever they needed to, and they went for it unnecessarily.
John Miller, give me your squad.
So to be clear, Alabama's on the board. I can take them.
Sure.
I'll go ahead and take Alabama then. I'll make Luke happy. I mean, it's been 1 year where Alabama lost 3 games. And yeah, most recently they looked pretty bad against the Oklahoma Sooners. I get it. Let's not completely lose our mind with recency bias here. The Tide could win this thing. They could win it next year.
With Ty Simpson, I assume, right?
I have no idea who their quarterback is going to be. It matters. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying you got to give them a shot.
According to Twitter, they're going to get Quinn Ewers.
Luke, it's not a draft, so you can take Alabama.
No, that's what I was like. Dang it, did he take my? No, I'll go Alabama too. I mean, look, I'm not saying I believe that that's what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. If you're asking me the one that has the best chance outside of Texas and Georgia next year, I do think it's Alabama. Even if it is, whether it be Ty Simpson or Keelan Russell, I think they're going to go through a pretty rigorous schedule that'll have them hopefully toughened and. By the time they get to the playoffs, hopefully they don't have 3 losses again this time and then lay an egg in a bowl game. So I do believe that this was a learning curve year for Kalen DeBoer. I believe in the guy. Yeah, he made some mistakes this year. That's certainly understandable. He's following a legend. It just happens. He's pretty good in his own right. I believe if a team that's not named Texas or Georgia wins it, it would be Alabama.
Marlo, who you got?
All right, I'm a 1%. So when this cuts out, just remember me like this and nothing of my bad stuff. I'd say Bama and LSU are the top 2. And I'll give you a dark horse just because their schedule was this year and how easy it was.
Peace out.
Texas A&M, Marcel Reed, all of them. Oh,
okay.
Man.
Okay, Aggies.
Reframe that.
Okay, well, we got
So
Marlo's.
disappointing.
We got Marlo's picking there. Texas A&M as the dark horse.
I love
He
when
did say
people are on
Texas A&M.
brand.
That was a bold take. If you're looking at the 2 teams that are in the national championship game, what do they got in common? They've got really, really good defenses and athletic dual threat quarterbacks that can grind it away. What does Oklahoma got going for them? They got a really good defense, and they brought in a transfer portal quarterback that's pretty athletic. With that being said, I'm going with Josh Heupel and the Tennessee Volunteers.
Okay, good.
Both bad answers. The tease was bad and the actual answer was bad.
Listen, Hype's building a pretty good defense. He's got an athletic dual threat quarterback. And Nico.
And Mickey Mouse offense. They're never going to do it.
Well, Nico could take that
back.
That was hard, though. I fought all week for them to give Ohio State a game, and it was not a game. So they made us look pretty bad. Corey, who you got?
Yeah, I if you asked me this question 6 weeks ago, I probably would have told you Tennessee had probably the best chance of the next group on the cusp. But no, I stuck my neck out and called Ohio State soft, and Tennessee, well, they said, you know what, screw you. So I'm going to go with Alabama because if they figure out the quarterback situation, that's the team that can jump in there and do it. I mean, Kalen DeBoer, if he gets the right guy, he was trying to make Jalen Milroe Michael Penix, and it just didn't work. And so he gets his own guy in there. I don't know if it's Ty Simpson. I don't know who that quarterback is. I don't know who that guy is. But Kalen DeBoer's got to get his guy in there, and they have everything else around him. They just got Isaiah Horton out of the portal today, didn't they, Luke?
No, not today, but they did get him out of the portal. Yes,
yeah. I saw that today, so maybe I thought it was just today. But
no, he's been announced for a while, and he's a really good third option when you consider you got Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams as your other 2. And so that's why I think it's going to make the quarterback, whoever that may be, a lot better.
And then LSU is a dark horse there. I mean, I know what you said about Brian Kelly, but they've got some weapons. They got Barryon Brown that can stretch the field vertically. Nussmeier can sling it a little bit, and they might just luck into something.
Yeah, and the big thing with me on that one is if Nussmeier, we saw Joe Burrow 18. Nobody was talking about him as Heisman Trophy winning greatest quarterback ever. 19, he took that huge leap. Jaden Daniels, year 1 at LSU was pretty good, but the biggest gripe was he's got to improve his throwing. He did. That next step became a Heisman winner. Can Garrett Nussmeier take that step? I don't know, but if he does, that will have LSU in the playoff next year. We'll see. John Neighbors.
Probably good thing they don't have Kyron Lacey either. Probably.
Well, I still, again, 0% chance any of these coaches and teams win. But if I have to pick one, I mean, everything's been kind of said and taken, but I guess it would have to be Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. I mean, I don't think he's going to get it done. I think next year is going to be his last year at Alabama. And I think that, they're going to be a good team, but if they put some things together to get some things going, then I think they got the best chance at it. But
you think we fire him at the end of next year?
Flabbergast.
Yeah, actually, either you fire him or he goes running. One of the two.
What would that take?
Steve Sarkisian returns to Tuscaloosa for 2026.
Hey, how many games does Hugh Freeze need to win to save his job?
Man.
7.
A 7 as long as one of them's Alabama.
I think 7-5, even losing to Bama. He's safe. 6-6. What does it look like?
What's his buyout? I mean, my God, I have to say, all 16 coming back this year, that made me think maybe nobody wants to pay these big buyouts in the SEC.
Nobody can afford to anymore.
That's what I'm saying. We'd rather pay NIL than a buyout. Makes
if you're
sense.
getting a pass this year, though, it means you're on the hottest seat next year.
True.
All right, guys, one more quick segment when we return. An SEC coach sliding into a ring girl's DMs. We're talking ball next. Back to the squad in just a second, but first, this message is brought to you by Prize Picks, the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, Prize Picks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Whether it's the playoffs or regular season, Prize Picks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all the football action. And now it is playoff time. There's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks. And here is how it works. You simply pick more or less on at least 2 players, and if your picks hit, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Yes, that's right. 1,000 times your money just by making a few simple picks. And for us, it's been a lot of fun to watch these playoff games. And, maybe you like Lamar Jackson to go more than 250 passing yards, or Travis Kelce for more than 70 receiving yards. Whatever it is, it's fun to predict and easy to play. Plus, with Prize Picks Flex Play, you could still double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And with the app, you get your winnings fast, sometimes in as little as 15 minutes. If you're ready to run your game this football season, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you place your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 just for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with Prize Picks. It is Prize Picks. Run your game. SEC squad rolls on, and guys, one of the more fun stories we've seen of the last couple of days, ring girl Sydney Thomas. She became pretty popular. The Mike Tyson, Jake Paul Netflix fight. Wasn't Mike Tomlin. And she is a University of Alabama student, but reports out there that she had an SEC admirer, an SEC head coach sliding into her DMs. And so I thought, the internet was all abuzz at who it could be. I thought I would pose it to the squad. Who do you think? Which current SEC coach slid into her DMs? Brandon Olson.
Did she specify football?
Yes,
I think she did.
So, yeah.
She did. Okay.
Then it's definitely Lane. I was gonna say if it's basketball, it's Todd Golden. But if we're talking football,
Baseball, Tony Vitello.
Oh man, Missouri alum Tony Vitello.
Did take a picture of a group chat.
She took a picture with Nick Saban, and Lane Kiffin commented on that on Twitter.
Yeah.
It was like, see, roll tide roll.
Yeah.
See, and if we were going to talk about coordinators, then it'd be Bobby Petrino. So let's just all make sure everything's covered there.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's fun. Like, here's the thing. Everybody's going to say, like, oh, it's Kiffin or, Hugh Freeze and all that. This is your segment, Gordy. Personally, I think it's funnier to think about the coaches that it's definitely not. It would be really funny if it ended up being them.
Sam Pittman.
I'm telling you, Sam Pittman, if it ended up
He's
being
got nothing
them,
to lose.
dude,
I would not be surprised though. He's got a little bit of swag to him.
No, listen. Sam Pittman he's happily married to his lovely wife Jamie. All right, I mean, there's nothing there. But if it came out, man, that'd be up there with the Bobby Petrino stuff that was going down. I'll tell you that. That would be
seen Sidney Thomas. I think his lovely wife Jamie would be down for it if she thought he could. And just look, here's the other thing.
Boss hog.
If we're going with funny guys, it could be. Wouldn't Josh Heupel be the funniest? Like if he was like,
No.
he had some kind of fun line like, "Aren't you glad I came into your DMs" or something like that? I mean, that would be his pickup line. That'd be awesome.
Drink is basically Millhouse. That would be the most funny.
Or
I heard. I didn't realize that Sydney was an Alabama student, but do you guys know how you can tell that Sydney Thomas is Canadian? She's big north of the border. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I was going to say, I mean, Clark Lee would be one you wouldn't expect, right? I mean, he's a little bit out there. Brent Venables
with me.
Oh, just the personality would be he's got an excellent personality.
Maybe it was Shane Beamer, and he DM'd her and said, "Don't you think Brett Bielema sucks?"
He's wearing the glasses like that Matthew Mitchell thing. He's like swagger.
Brandon, you don't think Napier? You wouldn't give him a shot?
I would never. No. He doesn't go for it on fourth down enough. He's not about to go DMing and taking time at risk like that.
Any former SEC coaches you think would be liable to do
Ed
that?
Orgeron 100%.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Chad Kelly made him run at Mia Khalifa.
Brett Bielema, we know he's got that
Mike
blackjack game.
Dubose.
Yeah, well, I'd say Wes Miles too.
Yeah.
What was the coach that got fired for using the school credit card at a strip club, Luke?
That was Mike Price.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely him.
Yeah.
He's definitely all
He
over
could have
that.
done it. Look, if you've seen Sidney Thomas, it wouldn't shock me if he was Gene Stallings that slid into her DMs. He'd have to get somebody else to do it, but he'd do it.
Somebody get a squirt bottle over there for Luke over here, man. Man, you gotta relax over here. He's just sweating over that. But hey, listen,
Definitely Urban Meyer for sure.
Urban would have been there.
Hey,
yeah.
she's our most famous alum. I mean, give me a break.
yeah,
Urban, you ever sat on somebody's lap at a bar? Come on.
yeah. She's healthy. She's been eating her green beans and drinking her milk. We all agree there. It's just a matter of all these SEC coaches. I hope it comes out, and I hope it ends up being someone that everybody. And the people are guessing. I just hope it ends up being somebody.
Mark Stoops.
Yeah, like Mark Stoops would be the most boring. Like, what? Are you kidding me? Like this guy of all coaches. That's what I'm hoping for. But I think we all kind of know the reality. Like if we're doing betting odds, is Mark Stoops, Sam Pittman, who's got the highest odds of being the coach that did it? I think Sam Pittman. Yeah, I do too. Highest odds.
Jeff Lebby, we don't really know.
Yeah.
Sark.
Well,
Let's not forget who Jeff Lebby's like close to. And
True. Yeah,
and
true.
they're not
That part,
exactly-
Brandon. That's the part.
Yeah. I'd put Sam Pittman at plus 750 on FanDuel right now. So
Nobody said Mike Elko. That'd be kind of funny.
Elko, definitely.
I don't know. I feel like Delco would send like a meme. He wouldn't say anything. He just send a meme.
Well,
Beaver,
How did this work? I sent her a meme.
yeah.
I just can't believe Eli Drinkwitz hasn't said anything about this at this point, throwing some shade at somebody. That's
He needs attention. He needs to get
Maybe
that
it's a
attention.
Yeah, that
smelting
jackass
right.
always needs to do
situation.
anything to get someone riled up. I get it.
John Williams,
Our
your
business
call.
here runs away immediately after.
Oh man, this is it's an uncomfortable conversation. But
Welcome to the SEC squad, John Williams.
this is it's sports talk. I get it. It's college football. Understand it's top topic. I don't know. I have a daughter that will one day be a college student, and I really pray that no future SEC head coach slides into her DMs.
There you
Talk
go.
about it on the show though, so there's that.
So she's doing something right, though. Come on.
Yeah. Well,
I just I'm having dad fears right now, like circling through my brain. Just one day, I mean, because not only like SEC head coaches, but football players. Like, did Kalen DeBoer's daughter, like, if Kalen DeBoer's daughter's not safe from a football player sliding into her DMs with the comment that he made, no daughter is safe.
What about
So-
Brian Parson as a former SEC coach?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Some, like the Yellowwood man, is like logging that for future use for when they want to try and get Hugh Freeze fired without paying for it.
Nice pun.
yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave it there, guys. Appreciate you guys joining us there for the SEC squad. And we can all agree it was Lane Kiffin, right? It had to be Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, 100%.
100% Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, the return of Joey. Freshman.
Minus 1,200 odds that it was Lane Kiffin.
Minus
For sure.
12,000 odds.
Yeah. And first coach to leave for the next big job is also Lane Kiffin. Follow and subscribe to your favorite SEC shows. We'll be covering your favorite teams all throughout the offseason, each and every day. Do not forget, I'll have you covered for the entire conference every day with Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. We'll talk to you guys next week. Come on back and see us.